a very brief introduction, and then you can read the description, and then we will read. Okay? Here we are. So, hello out there in video land. We're going to be working on Canto 12 again this time. Although we're going to start our discussion quite late into the canto, before we begin that, we're going to read the entire canto through in English. And then we will go, I believe it's line 85. And we will start reading small parts from line 85 and talking about what we've read. And with that, Dee Dee is going to give us the Dorothy Sayers nutshell version of this canto.
Here goes. At the entrance to the fourth circle, the poets are opposed by Pluto, and Virgil is again obliged to use a, quote, word of power, unquote. In this circle, the hoarders and the spendthrifts roll huge rocks against one another, and here Virgil explains the nature and working of luck or fortune. Then, crossing the circle, they descend the cliff to the marsh of sticks, which forms the fifth circle and contains the wrathful. Skirting its edge, they reach the foot of a tower. That's it.
That's Dorothy Sayers for Canto 12.
Mm-hmm. So I think that means they're circling the edge of the cliff to the marsh of sticks.
Oh.
It doesn't sound like what we were reading here
Yeah,
last
that
week.
doesn't. I think that's
Oh,
why.
you know what? You're right. I'm looking at Canto 7.
That's what
Please
I thought.
excuse me.
Okay.
I'm
So
too
would you like to
efficient
start?
today. I'll read that one too. The story. At the point where the sheer precipice leading down to the seventh circle is made negotiable by a pile of tumbled rock, Virgil and Dante are faced by the Minotaur. A taunt from Virgil throws him into a fit of blind fury, and while he is thrashing wildly about, the poet slipped past him. Virgil tells Dante how the rocks were dislodged by the earthquake which took place at the hour of Christ's descent into the limbo. At the foot of the cliff, they come to Phlegethon, the river of boiling blood in which the violent against their neighbors are immersed and whose banks are guarded by centaurs. At Virgil's request, Chiron, the chief centaur, sends Nessus to guide them down to the ford and carry Dante over on his back. On the way, Nessus points out a number of notable tyrants and robbers. The end.
The end. Okay. Well, in that case, then Dee Dee, you can begin reading the English translation.
Okay, am I reading too loud?
No.
No, I think it's fine. Nice and clear.
Okay, the place we came to descend the brink from was sheer crag, and there was a thing there making all told a prospect any eye would shrink from. Like the great landslide that rushed downward, shaking the bank of Adige on this side of Trent, whether through faulty shoring or the earth's quaking, so that the rock down from the summit rent far as plain as far as the plain lies strewn, and one might crawl from top to bottom by that unsure descent. Such was the precipice, and there we spied, topping the cleft that split the rocky wall, that which was wombed in the false heifer's side. The infamy of Crete stretched out a sprawl, and seeing us, he gnawed himself like one inly devoured with spite and burning gall. Next.
Then cried my wisdom, how now, Hellion, thinkst thou the Duke of Athens comes anew, that slew thee in upper world? Begone, monster! Not guided by thy sister's clue has this man come, only to see and know your punishment. He threads the circle through. Then, as a bull pierced by the mortal blow, breaks loose and cannot go straight, but reels in the ring, plunging wildly and staggering to and fro, I saw the Minotaur fall a-floundering, and my wary guide called, Run! Run for the pass! Make good thy going now, while his rage has its fling. So down we clambered by that steep crevasse of tumbled rock. Oft beneath my tread the stones slipped, shifting with my unwonted mass. I went bemused, wherefore, perchance thy head puzzles at this great fissure here watched, or by the furious brute I quelled just now, he said. I'd have thee know, when I went down before that other time into deep hell this way, the rock had not yet fallen, but now for sure 'twas thus, if I judge rightly, on the day when that great prince to the first circle above entered and seized from Dis the mighty prey. Shortly ere he came, the deep foul gulf did move on all sides down to the center, till I thought the universe trembled in the throes of love, whereby, as some believe, the world's been brought oft times to chaos. In that moment here and elsewhere was these old rocks' ruins wrought. Next, please.
Not sure I'm in the right place because my translation is very different.
Sure. Line 46 actually is where you'd pick up.
It looks like I've got the line. But now see below that river, made of blood alone, it holds and boils all those whose violence has injured others. Blind greed, brainless rage, in our brief lives, they drive us beyond sense and leave us misery for a heritage throughout eternity. I saw a wide moat curved, just as my escort had outlined, to frame the level. Here on the near side, between the moat's edge and the cliff behind, a line of archer centaurs ran, as they had done on earth when chasing game. They saw us coming down and stopped. 3 broke away, bringing their best made arrows. Lest I draw my bow, one cried from far off. Tell us what torment you come to. Why descend the slope? Tell us from there. My master, you will not taunt with an answer. Chiron there can cope. Your hasty will always be your disease. Then he touched me and said, the one who shouts is Nessus, for the wife of Hercules, fair Deianira. He died, and the gouts of blood that soaked his shirt avenged him. He's nothing beside great Chiron. That's him there in the middle, looking down at his own chest. That's about line 71.
Yeah, you're fine. Are you passing it on now?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I guess to pick up that other Pholus is who was so wrathful. Thousands and thousands go about the moat, shooting with shafts whatever soul emerges out of the blood, more than his crime allots. Near we approached under those monsters fleet. Chiron an arrow took, and with the notch backward upon his jaws he put his beard. After he had uncovered his great mouth, he said to his companions, are you aware that he behind moveth whate'er he touches? Thus are not wont to do the feet of dead men. And my good guide, who now was at his breast, where the 2 natures are together joined, replied, indeed he lives, and thus alone. Me it behooves to show him the dark valley. Necessity and not delight impels us. Someone withdrew from singing hallelujah, who unto me committed this new offense, new office. No thief is he, nor I a thievish spirit. But by that virtue through which I am moving my steps along this savage thoroughfare, give us some one of thine to be with us, and who may show us where to pass the ford, and who may carry this one on his back, for 'tis no spirit that can walk the air. Next, please.
Upon his right breast Chiron wheeled about, and said to Nessus, turn and do thy guide them, and warn aside if other band may meet you. We with our faithful escort onward moved, along the brink of the Vermilion boiling, wherein the boiled were utterly loud laments. People I saw within, up to the eyebrows, and the great centaur said, Tyrants are these, who dealt in bloodshed and in pillaging. Next, please.
Here they lament their pitiless mischiefs. Here is Alexander and fierce Dionysius, who upon Sicily brought dolorous years. That forehead there, which has the hair so black, is Azalin, and the other, who is blonde, Obitso, is of Este, who, in truth, up in the world was by his stepson slain. Next, please. Anne Meisner.
Anne, you're muted. I don't think she's there.
Okay, think she disappeared? Yeah, it looks like she disappeared. Okay, Bill, tell me what line you're at, please.
I have no line numbers. Then turned I to the
Wait a minute, I have it.
Okay.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
All right,
okay.
good.
And what line was it?
111.
111, okay. I'm sorry. Is Azalin and the other who is blonde? Wait a minute, I'll start at 09. That forehead there, which has the hair so black, is Azalin, and the other who is blonde, Obitio, is of Este, who in truth, up in the world, was by his stepson slain. Then turned I to the poet, and he said, Now he be first to thee, and second I. A little farther up on the centaur stopped, above a folk,
Mhm.
who far down as the throat seemed from that boiling stream to issue forth. A shade he showed us on one side alone, saying, He cleft asunder in God's bosom, the heart that's still upon the Thames is honored. Next.
Okay, Decio,
Aye.
we are on Canto 12, and we are on line 121.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm going to go ahead and read, and then you can read after I, okay?
Okay,
All right. Then people saw I, who from out the river lifted their heads, and also all the chest, and many among these I recognized. Thus, ever more and more grew shallower that blood, so that the feet alone it covered, and there across the moat our passage was. Even as thou here upon the side beholdest, the boiling stream that I diminishes, the centaur said, I wish thee to believe that on this other more and more declines its bed until it reunites itself, where it behoveth tyranny to groan. Okay, go ahead, Decio, if you're ready.
justice divine upon this side is goading that Attila, who was a scourge on earth, and Pyrrhus and Sextus, and forever milks the tears which with the boiling it ensues in Renier, in Corneto, da Corneto, and Renier Pazzo, who made upon the highways so much war. Then back he turned and passed again the ford.
Okay, great. And I believe at this point that we go back to line 70, probably line 73. Is that correct?
I think it was at 85, but
85,
I
okay.
think 73 would be a good place to start.
whatever. Yeah.
Okay, and whoever has a question, including me, will stop us. An issue. Thousands and thousands go about the moat, shooting with shafts whatever soul emerges. So there again, I don't know who the thousands are. Are they all centaurs?
No, the centaurs are the punishers. The people actually in the blood river are those who are.
But the thousands and thousands are centaurs. There are
Yes.
thousands.
Okay, thank you. You're right.
Yeah, I
There
think they are.
thousands and thousands of centaurs. Okay, that changes my image. I only thought there were like 6 or 7 centaurs,
Okay.
but apparently thousands and thousands.
Shooting with shafts, whatever soul emerges out of the blood, more than his crime allots. Now near we approached unto those monsters fleet, Chiron an arrow took, and with the notch backward upon his jaws he put his beard. After he had uncovered his great mouth, he said to his companions, are you ware that he behind moveth whatever he touches? Thus are not wont to do the feet of dead men.
Okay, I'm
And-
going to stop you, Dee. I'm going to stop you there, Dee Dee, because I think there's a couple points we need to make. So Bill already made the point that there are thousands and thousands of centaurs. And then let's make sure we understand the line that says, shooting with shafts, whatever soul emerges out of the blood more than his crime allots. So in this case, the people who are in this boiling blood river are supposed to have their body immersed into it according to how bad, how violent they were.
And they get punished even more than their victims were punished. That's what it seems to me.
And yes, but I mean there are degrees of punishment for the violent.
But
So-
if they did try to get out of their punishment by coming out of the water, out of the blood in a way that they're not allowed to do, that's when they get shot by the centaurs.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it's to keep them in the boiling blood where they belong.
To the degree
Whether it's up to their chest or up to their neck, or if they try to get out of it too much, then they're shot back down.
Oh, now I understand better. Thank you.
yeah, because some of them are in there that are probably up to their neck or maybe even their eyes. And some of them are probably only up to their legs or their waist.
Yes.
And somehow all these thousands of centaurs know the degree which each one of these souls need to be punished. And so let's say a chest person tries to rise up to where he's only up to his waist, then that person gets shot until they go back to where they're supposed to.
So they're mind readers. They're
Well, no, the centaurs know.
yeah.
Yeah, the centaurs know who's supposed to be where, and they keep an eye out for those that are trying to escape or lessen their punishment.
Yeah. Which certainly gives the centaurs a certain amount of intelligence.
Yeah.
Power.
Although that is not without precedent, because Chiron was the teacher of very bright people. He was probably
Achilles.
He was the teacher of what, Dave?
Achilles,
Yeah,
Oh,
Achilles.
among others. Yeah.
Okay. What did he teach Achilles, if I may ask?
Probably archery and war, just military arts.
Arts of war.
Mm.
Okay.
I have a question about Chiron.
Yeah.
Is that the same word that we use to describe the crawl line that goes across the TV on CNN? Isn't that called a Chiron?
I think, yeah, it is. I was wondering that myself.
Hmm.
I don't know what the
Same
connection
way.
is.
Yeah. I think that might be spelled a little different though, Lois. I think
I've seen it spelled that same way, the CHIRON.
is it? Well, then maybe that's to me. I never heard that until I saw. I never they would have these on for years on TV. I never knew it had a name, and then somebody made up a name, and so now we're stuck with that name. It seems like a pretentious thing to call it, but okay.
Well,
This looks like
if you consider how quickly it moves across the screen, that's how fleet Chiron moves across.
all right. Well, there you've just described. Maybe you came up with that?
No, I didn't come up with it, but it made sense to me.
Okay.
And Nessus was killed by Hercules because he wanted to seduce his wife Janira.
Yeah, right.
Janira.
So I did read one of the commentaries, one of the more recent ones on the web page, and apparently the rest of these centaurs were the creation of of clouds. I think I read clouds and some other god or goddess or something. It was a very strange kind of ancestry there, patronage or parentage that they have. But they're not like Chiron, who was basically the father parented by a god, and or part of God, who are more of a purebred, you might say. and I think that the commentary said that I think Dante took a little liberty with coming up with thousands and thousands of these centaurs, because I think there maybe only have been and there was only it's supposed to have been like 100 or something like that in real in the ancient myths.
There is no centauress.
No, that's right. We like last week.
How do they make
Duncan,
more
they're like
centaurs?
mules.
Mm-hmm.
And in line 88 and on, there is a reference to Beatrice.
Yes.
Yeah, let's hold on just a second. Dee Dee, where did you read up to? What line?
The end of that he behind moveth whatever he touches. Then the next verse,
That's
82.
Oh yeah,
or
okay.
83.
So you were up at 81. Okay.
Okay.
So I just want to make one mention. I think it's worth a brief comment that whereas the centaurs are people on top and horses below, the minotaur is bull above and human below, and Virgil handles the minotaur. The minotaur is kind of emotionally out of control. So the way that Virgil handles him is by making him angry and then putting fear in him and distracting him. Whereas now that he's dealing with Chiron, Chiron is much more of a intelligent being, and he actually has a conversation with Chiron. So just a brief point there.
Before we move on, could somebody clarify? It would be line 77. I read this morning before we gathered, and I couldn't. Just tell me what kind of picture is being painted here. And Chiron took an arrow, and with the notch put back upon his jaws, his snowy drift of beard,
Mm-hmm.
and having freed his great mouth. Okay, so like, does the guy take an arrow and use the notch in the arrow to push his beard out of the way?
He's pulling. I
No,
think he's bow back.
he's pulled the bowstring. He's notched the arrow.
Yeah, right.
On the string,
Right.
and he's pulled it back. You pull it back to your jaw to before you release it. So that just a description of that movement of drawing the bow and then holding it to his cheek or to his chin.
So is the notch between his fingers?
The notch is on the bowstring.
On the bowstring, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So then, what's this got to do with put back upon his jaws a snowy drift of beard? So Bill, could it be like a guy like us who's got beard but he doesn't trim here, and he's using the notch? He's using the motion to pull back and pull his beard across from his mouth so he can speak.
Could be.
Okay.
Would you
Sounds
like to hear the
confusing to me,
translation?
Dave. Bill.
Yeah, no, this is
Okay,
good.
Bill.
This is good, Lois. This is why we want several translations. What have you got?
Okay. Chiron pulled back his beard with where the notched bolt fits into the string. Mouth bared, keep your eyes on that second one, he told his friends.
Okay.
His
Right.
feet shift when they step on.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, and
Clear.
also another thing which may be relevant is it kind of indicates that Chiron has a physical body. That this is not just another spirit in the shape of a centaur, but actually has a physical body, even though it's in the Inferno.
I don't know you can say that.
Yeah, that's what I
but
said might.
you know, I guess it's possible, but I don't think anyone has a physical body in the underworld except Dante.
Okay.
And in fact, Chiron's making the point that he what he touches moves. What
Yes, are you
Chiron,
aware
what
that he behind moveth whatever he
Sure.
touches?
right, and
Yeah.
and they do not. The centaurs don't move anything that they touch.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just
Although, you know, Dante kind of, to put it, he kind of speaks out of both sides of his mouth on this one, Bill. And I fully take your
Yeah.
point. And yet, by the other hand, the centaurs, you know, they give people a gentle reminder by shooting arrows into them. Well, if they don't have a physical body,
Yes,
you know, the
right.
arrow's going to go through. So Dante, you know, again, Bill, I fully take your point. I just think that also Dante plays this other side where hell is a place of real physicality, even though you can't make most of the people, all the people, I guess, can't make footprint marks in the soil. So
Yeah, that's the kind of thing Barolini is talking about.
Right, but
He's,
you
he's
can understand.
playing with his details.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, but I mean, I think I don't know. You have to assume that everything in the underworld or after death is in a spiritual realm. So there's no physicality, but they have a physical appearance. So these people can be identified by how they looked in life, and they're doing the things they did in life, like drawing an arrow, and the arrows are piercing the souls, but they're not real arrows because real arrows can't pierce souls. And you know, they're obviously they're spiritual arrows or some kind of supernatural.
Dante has a very challenging task.
And
right.
I think
Oh,
he's
hold on. And the challenging task is that going with what Bill said, there's only one body here, and that is Dante. And everything else is spiritualized, but the readers, us, we have bodies. And our knowledge of things and our language is full of body language. So if you're a poet trying to describe things in a not bodily world, he might be kind of forced to use body language just to make it somewhat comprehensible to us.
It's no different than any other description of hell. It's no different than any Catholic or Christian, no different than a nun telling you you're going to burn in eternal flames.
Right.
Well, you're not going to burn, but your soul is going to burn, and it's not, you know, and so it's never an easy thing to discuss or to describe, but
Right.
they turn it into and they anthropomorphize it quite a bit. So, you know, demons with pitchforks. Well, what the hell's a pitchfork going to do? And where do they get a pitchfork? Well, there are no pitchforks. They're spiritual pitchforks that have some ability to goad or pierce the soul in some way and make you feel pain. But it's not a physical pain because there is no physicality. It's some kind of it's a pain we can't imagine because we are not spirits. We are human. But
Mhm.
Yes,
they have to describe it in human terms.
Right.
Yeah,
which-
he's depending upon the credulity of the audience.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing there.
Right.
And you were going where I was going, Duncan.
Well, you know, and I guess I was just going to defer here to a reference another point here, and maybe I think it's kind of related to this idea and the spirituality aspect of it, and that he talks in the one thing I just noticed this when we're reading today about the centaurs, and he refers to centaurs as they're running armed with arrows, as in the world they use the chase to follow, as if to say that historically these were real beings in a way, and sort of saying in antiquity, let's say the years in the ancient world, these were actual beings of some kind. So he's kind of getting it both ways again there. He's using the reference of these creatures from the ancient world, from legend or from mythology, to populate the spiritual beings of hell. And they've only been creatures of an imagination. And so he's just incorporating that idea to lend further power to the imaginary torments of hell.
Mhm.
But it's obvious though that Chiron does not still have a beard, and there'd be no reason he would have no need to move his beard in order to speak, because he's a spirit, and obviously he could transmit his. They're not actually speaking. There's no movement of air. There's no vibration that someone can hear. But he's using whatever he's accustomed to in his real life. I mean, like all of the souls we've seen so far, they have memories of being alive. They have memories of what it is to be human and alive, and so they act accordingly. They still, if they were angry, they're still angry. If they were lustful, they're still lustful. If they're being tormented by whatever their sin was, but they're still trapped in that in their human form, let us say, even though they're not in a physical form.
Yes.
Bill, and just to kind of pick up on your point, it says in the Bible there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, and I'm thinking, so you're gonna have teeth down there,
Right?
Oh,
Right.
You'll have spiritual teeth.
spiritual teeth, right?
Right. But I think it's a really important point that that physical language has to be used.
Right.
This point is really made, as we will find again when we finally get to Paradiso. This subject is brought up very clearly in parts of Paradiso, where they talk about, that we have to use these words to communicate something,
Which is beyond words and
which is beyond words.
right. But that's paradise, where it's an experience that cannot be put into words. But Dante can put this experience into words that we might understand. We're not going to exactly know
Mm-hmm.
precisely what it means to be a soul in hell, but he can give us an idea, and he can describe what he sees, in terms that we can understand. So,
Mm-hmm. Or at least that we think we can understand.
yeah.
So even though there will not be teeth down there, there will be wailing and gnashing.
Exactly.
It won't become.
Except for the dentist circle of hell, where you're eternally being extracted without Novocaine or something.
Yes.
Don't mention that, Bill. Right. Shall we proceed on with the next lines?
So that's 84. Right after thus are not wont to do the feet of dead men. It's
Okay.
the next line.
Okay. Who's going to read now?
Dave.
I guess I am. Okay, so I'll
Yeah.
pick it up there then. Okay. And my good guide, now standing at his breast where the two natures join, replied, "Quite true, he is alive. So, on his lonely quest, needs must I lead him through the vales of night. Necessity brings him here, not sport nor jest. From the singing of Alleluias in this light came she who laid on me this novel charge. The man's no poacher, I'm no thievish sprite." Maybe I should do two more and finish his speech. Two more little
Okay.
stanzas there. Okay. Now by the power that moves my steps at large on this wild way, lend us a courier whom we may follow by the river's marge, to show us where the ford is, and to bear this other upon his back across the tide, for he's no spirit to walk the empty air.
Mm-hmm. All right. Very good.
Now, here is a reference to Beatrice in the first.
Yes.
verse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She will come in the purgatory.
Yes.
Well, at least I find it interesting that Virgil is having a chat with Chiron and getting some business done here.
What did you say, DCO?
Sorry. From line 88 to 90 is a reference to Beatrice.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, someone in our translation, Didi, that someone withdrew from singing Hallelujah.
Yeah.
She is singing in the paradise. Hallelujah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's gotten familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this passage about the ford. The ford is when we can cross a river.
Wait, where are you?
94.
Like the ford.
84?
Pass a ford.
94.
94.
To pass a ford means to cross a river without no swimming, no, just by foot.
Needs a
Ford.
spin.
Yeah, well, this is a river of, quote, boiling
Blood.
blood. So,
But it would be crossed without
Touching.
swimming, no swimming.
Yeah.
needed.
so once again, it brings up interesting questions anyway, because, you know, obviously whatever centaur is going to carry him across the
Yeah.
boiling river on his back, somehow the centaur will be relatively unharmed by the experience. And what was that
So
little,
they cross the river on horseback.
excuse me?
They cross the river on horseback,
On horseback, yeah.
Or centaur back.
centerback.
Okay, so but let's go back briefly, if you don't mind, to line 83. And my good guide, who now was at his breast,
Breast.
in Chiron, where the two natures are together
Just-
joined.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
image.
Yeah, that's the joint between the man part and the horse
Man
part.
and
The
horse.
human and the beast.
Yeah,
Right.
they're joined.
Exactly.
Mhm.
My translation has the quote as, his feet shift what they step on. Dead feet never do. I have no idea what that means.
Oh yeah, it
As
means
Dante is alive, he moves
It
what
means-
they walk
yeah.
on the stones.
Wait.
Chiron
Yeah.
notices that Dante is alive and not a dead spirit. because his feet,
Oh, because his feet are
Because he
moving.
moves the stones.
not that his feet are moving, but that the stones, when he
They're
stepped,
moving.
They show. They
they,
show his
yeah,
spit on them.
yeah,
Well, let
Thank
me go
you.
back just a
they
little
Thank
bit
shift.
because this is Lois's first time here. So Lois, in this particular part, this is where when Christ rose up to heaven or
I
came,
know he
the
comes to
earthquake,
hell and it shakes.
and it shakes,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
there's rubble everywhere.
Right, right.
And so that's what they're noticing, that when Dante's walking, that some of the rocks and stuff are moving.
Got it. Thank you.
Hmm.
It's interesting to me that that Virgil says, "No thief is he, nor I a thievish spirit." Well, what is there to steal in hell anyway? I mean, why would they be afraid of thieves?
It just means we're good guys.
Yeah.
It's interesting about Christ's feet. Was he alive or wasn't he during the harrowing of hell?
Oh, he was not alive. Well, he was. I mean,
But
obviously.
he caused the avalanche or the
That was during
when
the
the boulders
crucifix.
fell down.
Yeah, I think that was during the crucifixion.
Yeah, that was the.
I
Yeah.
thought that was
Harrowing.
during the harrowing of hell.
Yeah,
No, that
I
was,
did too. I thought
Could
it
be
was
idea.
harrowing of hell.
no,
No.
well, I
Oh, hold
would
on.
say no.
Let's
So
do
in
some
fact,
There's a
research.
debate on it.
but go ahead, Bill.
I'm just going to say what you're going to say, probably. That my memory and understanding of the story is that at the exact time of Christ's death on the cross, there was an enormous earthquake throughout the universe. I mean,
Right.
it was a monumental cataclysm, and that's when hell was shaken. And
It wasn't Christ.
it wasn't Christ walking and causing an earthquake
Sure.
like Godzilla. It was when he actually died, the death of Christ on the cross was such a powerful event that it created this shockwave throughout space and time
Good.
that actually penetrated into hell and caused this earthquake.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I think it's Dante is the only one who actually talks about the rubble in hell. I mean, because obviously hell is not a physical place either.
Hmm.
Uh, or is it?
And the harrowing of hell is the same or slightly different?
The harrowing of hell is just during the 3 days after the crucifixion and before the resurrection, according to Catholic tradition and teaching, he descended into hell, meaning limbo, basically,
Hmm.
to bring out of hell
Certain
so
Old Testament figures.
the righteous pagans and such that we will meet in Paradiso. We'll see
Mhm.
some of, and we've met them already. There are still, at this point, there are still people in, like Virgil is in limbo. Um, but there are other people like supposedly Adam and Eve was raised from hell. All of the other
the patriarchs, I think.
patriarchs, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so he went down to hell and brought them up into heaven, and then reappeared on earth in his resurrected form.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's interesting how the notes back at in the 30s, the lines of the 30s, the notes talk about this as being about the harrowing of hell, but it's also about the earthquake.
Earthquake, yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's what I have as well. Could be either.
Yeah, all this
here's the chronology. And you and I initially were on the wrong side of this argument. Bill actually and Duncan nailed it. So here's what it says, and you've got my translation, so it'll be easier. Starting at 37, here's how the sequence goes. On the day when that great prince to the first circle above entered and seized from Dis the mighty prey. Now here's where Bill and Duncan are right. Shortly ere he came, shortly before he came, the deep foul gulf did move on all sides down to the center, till I thought the universe trembled in the throes of love and carried on. So shortly before the harrowing of hell, which would be, as Bill said, I guess, a crucifixion, right? Because Bill, that's where the curtain in the tabernacle got torn and everything, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's when the great tremblement de terre, as the French would say, happened.
Mm-hmm. Which
Oh, this is
in
accordance.
Catholic
Oh,
tradition
accordance.
is 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Good Friday.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't say what time zone.
Decio, you were trying to say something too. Tell us, Decio?
All this you are talking about is related to our Catholic mythology.
Yes.
Yeah.
So mythology is all about.
Yes. It's the Gospel of Nicodemus, apparently, which I haven't read.
Not in the canon.
No, absolutely not canonical.
No. But was known to
Right.
people in the Middle Ages and Dante and others.
Right.
And it became legends or stories that aren't biblical, but are nonetheless believed.
Yeah, well, it's like all the, in Judaism and in Islam, and of course in Christianity, there's the canonical stuff, and then there's always these other bodies of literature that
The Apocrypha.
the Apocrypha for each of those three religions, which are actually in people's minds, though most people have no idea where they came from.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Are we ready to proceed?
Where are we? What line?
I think it's
At the
80.
end, it was at the end of Virgil's talk there. So it's
Okay, so it's after
on his
the
right
Hallelujah.
breast.
Oh, sorry.
wheeled about.
I should tell you where I finished reading. I finished reading on, I think it was 95, so you'd pick it up 96. But I would add a footnote to what Bill and Duncan said in terms of you've got this, for Catholics, you've got the scripture and you've got tradition. So, for instance, the Stations of the Cross, which are very important to Catholics,
Right.
Veronica wiping the face of Jesus is not scriptural.
Mhm.
But if you're doing the Stations of the Cross, you come to that, and it's very important.
Yeah.
Even though you would search high and low in the canonical Bible to find it, and you
Right. Well, the whole Mariology,
Find it, yeah.
same way, if I'm not mistaken.
like the Assumption of Mary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Correct.
most of the stuff about Mary,
Yeah.
and that's all added on.
Right.
Mid to late 19th century. That was Pope Pius, I think,
Mm-hmm.
in late 19th century that came up with the Assumption of Mary and all of that stuff.
Immaculate
And
Conception
the
too, right, Bill?
Immaculate
Yeah.
Conception,
The end of
and
the
that's
19th century.
and actually
19
the
Mhm.
saying of the Rosary was not a thing until then. That's it's not it was not part of Catholic tradition until the late 19th century.
Mm-hmm.
So we must believe on that. We are supposed to believe that.
Yes.
It can't
I
hurt.
I
We're
studied
we're encouraged to believe it with pitchforks.
yeah,
Material or otherwise.
but I studied Gothic cathedrals in school, and
Mhm.
the thing is, okay, so the whole thing with Gothic cathedrals, like Notre Dame is what dated 1174, I think. But if you study the tympanum of the cathedrals, they're Christ in majesty, surrounded by apostles or kings or whatever. But
Right.
then as the centuries go on, it's Mary in the middle.
Yes. Right.
So it's the whole rise of Mary.
Yeah.
Wow.
like
Yeah.
early, like up to the time of Dante, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Mary as intercessor
Yes.
becomes very, very important. Whereas, Jesus, who will come to judge us at the end, you can't actually ask him much for mercy if he's going to have to be a fair and impartial judge.
Mm,
But you can ask Mary to put in a good word for you
right.
with her son, and obviously,
Yeah.
especially in the Italian tradition, mother's got some sway with her son.
Wasn't that all about indulgences?
Not
Mm,
all about.
No,
No.
but I'm thinking, like even the name Cathedral of Notre Dame, Cathedral of Our Lady.
Yes.
mhm.
You see more cathedrals named in her honor
Yeah.
at this point. Hmm.
Yeah, there's Notre Dame de this and Notre Dame de that, Notre Dame in many, many different cities.
Hmm.
Um, anyway,
And I'm sure that in some ways it's related to the old pagan religions,
sure.
that would
Yes.
worship the earth goddess or the fertility goddess for the crops and all of that.
Hmm.
In order to attract those people to a degree, you had to bring that in, or the church, at least found it useful to bring in a feminine, fructifying uh, figure
Hmm.
Goddess, like a goddess.
like goddess. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And that's the part of the Protestant accusation against Catholicism is that it's idol worship that Mary becomes is. But according to the Catholics, Mary is not to be worshipped. She is not a god or goddess.
hmm
She's not to be worshipped. To be venerated
hmm hmm
uh, and prayed to, but not worshipped
yeah.
in the way that God is worshipped.
I'm sure they make that distinction in the rarefied circles,
Yes.
but it gets messier in the unrarefied circles of
Well, I
most
learned
people.
it when I was being confirmed in through the Baltimore Catechism. I think that's exactly what Bill just said. Was what I learned before I was confirmed as a teenager.
Hmm.
hmm
Do you still remember the Baltimore Catechism? Who made me? God made me. Why did he make me? He made me to honor and serve.
Well,
Back
yeah.
of my head.
I had
We're
it
talking
memorized
about
at one
something from
point, but
70
not
years ago. It's still in there.
that was that's like 60 years ago, and I don't remember the details, but I remember parts of that sort of thing and some of these distinctions. So, I do
Who
remember.
who ma
It
who
was
made
well
me?
ahead.
God made
I
me.
meant the word.
Who is God? God is the supreme being who made all things. Why did God make me?
To know him, to love him, and to serve
To
him.
serve him.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
that's what the Jesuits and everybody else says. Get them young.
Yeah.
hmm
Get them young.
Yep. Yep.
wow.
May I read the beginning of the last canto of the Paradiso, canto 33.
Okay.
Vergine madre, figlia del tuo figlio, umile e alta, più che creatura, termine fisso e eterno consiglio. It says that Mother Virgin, daughter, she is mother and daughter of God.
Right. Daughter of her own.
Daughter and
Daughter
mother
of.
of God.
Yeah.
Daughter of your son.
I can't
Daughter of.
understand that.
Yeah. Daughter of her own son.
There's a paradox.
Mhm.
Oh gosh, that brings me to something irreverently comical. I won't even say it.
Okay.
Oh, now you must.
Oh, I'm my own grandpa.
And we have to believe on that.
Right.
Wasn't that
Not
one
to believe
of
it.
Joyce's, wasn't that one of James Joyce's jokes? in
Yes.
Ulysses?
Hamlet was his
funny,
own
man.
father.
I think this is in Ulysses, yeah.
Yeah.
All righty, let's proceed a little bit further.
Am I the reader?
Yes, Lois, you are the reader.
All right, I'm starting at around 96-ish.
Yeah.
Chiron turned to his right, and all right then, he said to Nessus, you can double back, show them the ford, and scare off any band like ours that you might meet. Off down the track we moved with our new guide on the last land before the bubbling red, in which the boiled, up to their eyebrows, screamed. Tyrants who dipped their hands in blood, they never then recoiled, said the great centaur. Lust for plunder gripped them once, and how it got them where they are, they now regret, as you can hear. But see, that's Alexander, called by Seneca the cruel and not the great. And Sicily suffered from that man, Dionysus, for long years. And that brow with the black hair belongs to Etzavino, tortured thus for tortures given. That one is the fair Obizzo d'Este, smothered by his son up there. Down here, what takes his breath away flows from the things he did and not those done to him. I turn to hear my poet say that last news will make certain what you guessed. We moved on. When the center stopped once more, there was a crowd below us who were less deeply immersed than those we'd seen before. Scene.
As the throat seen from that boiling steam.
I think some of these references are pretty obscure, unless I don't have ready access to the commentary here. But it seems I was reading the commentary last night, and one of these references is to one of the I think it was I think it was Henry VII or something. I don't know if it was an emperor or if it was a king that or somebody. It was an English king, I guess, who was murdered. Maybe it was Henry I, who was referred to as being heart is still upon the whose heart was cleft asunder. He was murdered by somebody.
Hmm. Yeah, but there's some pretty dramatic descriptions of some of these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Ezzelino, Ghibelline strong man in the March of Treviso in northern Italy, was in Guelph eyes a monster of cruelty. So he's a homeboy that Dante would not be happy about. He is coupled with the Guelph Oropizzo il Dieste, Lord of Ferrara, and a supporter of the French forces in Italy and of the Pope. His violence was rewarded in life by his murder at the hands of either his own and denatured son or his illegitimate natural offspring. Commentators are divided. So anyway, these are bad guys being punished.
Okay.
Why would Yeats have written Holy Dionysus?
The different Dionysus.
Dionysus, yeah.
This is Dionysius. This is
He was a tyrant of Cyprus,
of Sicily.
And was it
yeah,
Dionysus?
430.
Elder of Syracuse.
Yeah. This is not the god Dionysius. This is just
Yeah.
Tyrann from Syracuse. Yeah.
Right. The different
In
name.
the Magna Graecia. Magna.
Yeah.
Great Greece. Yeah.
Right. Syracuse.
That's them.
So Alexander the Great also went to the inferno. I don't know.
So are the people we're encountering in this circle tyrants who were bloodthirsty tyrants, hence they're up to their necks in blood?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, they're real bad.
Exactly those.
Got it.
Right. Yeah, those who caused great bloodshed on Earth.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe Alexander. Yeah, killed many
Ale-
people.
yeah, Alexander the Great.
Because as Gilbert and Sullivan said, the punishment must fit the crime.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
100%.
You must have read Dante.
He seems to be more omitting a lot more, though. I guess we could just go on and on. Well, the bloodthirsty tyrants. He's only touching upon a few, and they're hardly people that anybody know outside of Italy.
Well, it's like to go back to Gilbert and Sullivan, Dante has a little list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
May none of them be missed.
and none of them he missed. No.
DD, the Dionysus you were speaking of, I think, is Dionysus the Areopagite, if I pronounce that correctly. And if you go to the chat, I put a link to an article about him. And if you want to copy that, you can look at it at your leisure, okay?
Thank
Are you
you.
sure about that?
That's a
Dan?
saint. He's a Christian saint. So basically, you want to call your kid Dionysus. He could grow up to be like the god of drinking and partying. He could be a Christian saint, or somewhere in the middle, he could be a bloodthirsty tyrant.
Well, wait a minute now. Dave, I think when you're saying that this Dionysius he's referring to here is Dionysius.
No.
No,
No.
No, absolutely. I am not saying that.
What you said.
No,
Okay.
I'm. Dee Dee mentioned a reference from elsewhere, and I think the what I put in the chat refers to that. No. We got a guy here steeped with blood, and apparently it's in the family because on my notes from Sayers said it's a father and a son, Dionysius the elder and the younger. So yeah, they're.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, no, I misunderstood you said that.
I don't know. No, and that's good. You tried to correct me on that.
Well.
I needed to clarify it clearly.
So,
Just
read on here.
Mhm.
Okay, it's my turn to read, I guess.
All right.
Is this though? I mean, getting back to the mention of Henry, is this Thomas a Becket that was murdered, whose heart is still worshipped along the Thames? Is this?
Oh, maybe that's who that was.
You know, Bill, that's what I thought,
Yeah.
but my notes say differently. But when I read it, I'm thinking Thomas a Becket. He was actually killed in Canterbury, of course.
He was killed in
But-
Canterbury.
But the
right.
power.
I
but
think
the
this
seat
was
of power,
Edward the First.
Yeah, but the seat of power in England is on the Thames, and that's why I thought it was Thomas a Becket. But my notes from Sayers have another person entirely.
Edward the First. Is that what you
Yeah.
had?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just checking here. Okay, so we're do you want to wait till we get there?
We've been there.
We have been.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have been there.
When,
We
when,
have not.
when I went to
I think
Sicily,
we're actually almost there.
Oh,
It's where-
okay. Yeah.
It's at
I'm sorry.
121. I think it's.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah,
but
you're right.
129 is the Thames.
when I went to Sicily and
Okay.
to Syracuse, I visited this cave. This cave is called the Ear of Dionysius
Hmm.
because the tyrant
Okay.
Dionysius governed this area of the Magna Graecia.
Hmm.
It was a
Oh.
touristic reference.
Wow. Wow.
Excellent.
So these Hollander notes, I'm just looking at these Hollander notes.
Mhm.
And where was it here? Dionysius the younger, the elder, son of the elder. And so he refers to the, where was it here now? Maybe I misread that someplace here. Oh, slightly less, Henry of Cornwall. The slightly less bloodied crew contains mere murderers, only one of whom is indicated by Paraphrasis, Guy de Montfort, of royal English blood in order to avenge his father Simon's murder, killed his cousin Henry of Cornwall in a church at Viterbo in 1271, supposedly while Henry was praying during the elevation of the host. Henry's heart returned to England, still drips with blood because his murder was not avenged. So it was a different Henry altogether. At least he says that was according to the commentator there. So
It's interesting how Sayre's note is somewhat similar and somewhat different.
Well, there's such tremendous amounts of knowledge and facts
yeah,
in this that, I don't think anybody can include it all in their commentaries, and different
No.
commentators select different.
And there's a heart there too. Henry's heart is in a casket placed on London Bridge.
Okay.
He's in some ways he's maybe leaving this poetically vague, so you can maybe read whoever you want into that practically, or a number of people, anyways. Not anybody, but not any, and there would be a number who would that would apply to.
Yep. Okay.
All right,
John, you're reading?
I was just going to start reading here again. Yes.
Okay.
Let's see. Thus ever more and more grew shallower. Oh, then people saw I who out from the river lifted their heads, and also all the chest. And among these, and many among these I recognized. Thus ever more and more grew shallower that blood, so that the feet alone it covered, and there across the moat our passage was. Even as thou here upon this side beholdest the boiling stream, that eye diminishes, the centaur said. I wish thee to believe that on this other, well, maybe I should stop where across the moat our passage was, because that's a long quote. Whoever can read, I'll just turn over next to who wants to read next then, Anne, for you to read.
Do you want to discuss it first, or will you just continue?
Oh, we can discuss for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think all it's saying here is that that basically the river of blood here of the phlegiston is getting shallower here. So it's I guess it maybe that some of the people were less
violent,
sunk into this blood here, and I guess their sins were not as severe. So I guess we can infer from that these are lesser murderers or bloodthirsty types.
Mere murderers.
Yeah.
Mere murderers.
Mere murderers, yes.
They were not absolute beasts.
No. So then they arrive at well, there across the moat our passage was. So so maybe they didn't need a centaur after all. Well, but
they're being escorted by a centaur.
They're being escorted. Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
Chiron
told. Go ahead.
Well, Virgil said Dante needed to be carried over this. Virgil said that,
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's where Ness has got the job. That was back in line 96.
All right, John, why don't you read on a little bit more?
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Even as thou here upon this side beholdest the boiling stream, that eye diminishes. The centaur said, I wish thee to believe that on this other more and more declines in its bed until it reunites itself where it behoveth tyranny to groan. And I'll end there.
Okay.
That's a interesting simile or metaphor, whatever. More and more declines its bed until it reunites itself. So it sounds like it must be it goes into a circle, almost like a circular river.
Perhaps so.
Yeah, I think it does go around.
Goes around the town, around Dis.
you know,
Hollander refers to it as a semicircle.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, there, okay.
hmm. I wonder if that's right. I mean, a semicircle doesn't reunite itself.
Well, does everybody have that same line about reuniting itself?
What line are we at?
130, 31.
Well, that
Okay.
would have to be the Italian, you'd have to get that from the Italian, so Decio or Duncan, what do you think? What do you say about that?
Let's see, I gotta
What?
see.
Sorry, could you repeat?
Oh,
Okay, so there's the poem in Italian, and we want line 130, right?
Right.
Che da quest'altra apui gio prima. Io fondo su, infin che si raggiunge, ove la tirana conviene. So, you got anything to say about that, Decio?
No.
No.
It says, Hollander says actually, the information suggests that Dante and Virgil had traversed a semicircle in order to reach the shallowest part where they have forded the river. The unexplored run of the river thus also occupies 180 degrees of the circle. So he does, I think, say that this is a circle.
I have that translation from Sayers too. Until it comes full circle and joins its ring.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the old translation, it reunites itself, which is, I guess, a similar idea anyway.
Right.
All right. I think we're close to the end of this one. Let's go ahead and proceed on.
Okay. Can I go? Justice divine upon this side is boding that Him who was a scourge on earth and various insects and forever milks the tears which with the boiling is on seals. Renier de Corneto and Renier Papasso, who made upon the highway so much war. Then back he turned and passed again the ford.
Okay. So
Okay.
pretty much more of the same. He's just wrapping up this canto with a few more names.
In line 130, they were looking at a place in the river just to cross it in a kind of a fordable way,
Loading.
Okay.
without swimming. That they were looking a place to cross the river.
according to Longfellow, nothing more is known of these highwaymen than that they first infested the Roman seashore and that the second was of a noble family of Florence. So we don't seem to have that history of those particular characters. And I wrote robber barons somewhere. I can't remember
Yeah, I
where that
think
came
this
from.
is the beginning of the next thing, which is, violence in search of property.
One is property, and I guess one is like highwaymen.
Mhm. Well, the first group are just, crimes against people,
Mhm.
killing lots and lots of people. And I think they're ending up with this fine one that I may be wrong, but I think we're in 13. We're going to be getting into other types of violence.
Yes.
Shall we proceed on to 13 and read it both in Italian and in English?
Sure. Okay.
Let me go down.
Just before we do, I would point out that riding on the back of Nessus is kind of a high risk occupation because he is famous. That centaur is famous because he was trying to kidnap Hercules' wife.
Wife, yeah.
Hoarding her over a river. So I'm assuming Dante is playing with this when he puts himself on the back of this centaur. I would be a bit apprehensive myself about going for a ride with Nessus.
You said Nessus was trying to kidnap Hercules' wife?
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was killed.
And he was killed by Hercules, yeah.
Right. So you would kind of warn your daughters, don't go for a ride with Nessus. He's a bad influence.
Mhm. Okay.
Except in line 97, he has orders from Kiran to take him across
Right.
and to protect him.
There it is. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's it, Anne. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep the same English reading list. And I've made an Italian list, which is going to be Decio, Bill, Decio, Duncan.
Okay.
Oh, you're going to do the Italian.
Yeah, we're going to do the Italian because we're going to start
Okay.
in Canto.
Yeah. All right.
I prefer to read the Italian whenever there's at least three
Yeah.
people willing to do it. And Decio's willing to do double duty. I assume you're still willing to do double duty. So Decio, you can start anytime.
Ok. Era lo loco ove a scender la riva, venimo al pestro e per
That's, is that the right canto?
Yeah, with 13. We're moving on to Canto 13, Decio.
Ah, 13. Oh, sorry. Oh. Non era ancora di là nesso arrivato quando noi ci mettemmo per un bosco che da un sentiero era segnato, non fronda verde, ma di color fosco, non rami schietti, ma nodosi, involti, non pomi v'eran, ma stecchi con tosco, non ansi aspri sterpi, né si folti quelle fiere selvagge che non odio hanno tra Secina e Cornetto i luoghi colti. Quive le brute arpie lor nidi fanno, che cacciar delle strofade i troiani con tristo annunzio di futuro danno. Ali hanno latte e coglie visi umani, pie con artigli e penuto il gran ventre fanno lamenti in su gli alberi strani. E il buon maestro, prima che più entri, sappi che se nel secondo girone mi cominciò a dire, e sarai mentre che tu verrai nell'orribile sablone, però riguarda ben, si vedrai cose che torrien fede al mio sermone. Io sentia di ogni parte tratte guai e non vedea persone che le facesse perché io tutto smarrito mi arrestai. Credo io che credete che io credesse che tante voci uccisser tra quel bronchi da gente che per noi si nascondesse. Però disse il maestro, se tu tronchi quel che fraschetta di una di este piante, li pensier che hai si faranno tutti monchi. Allora porse la mano un poco avanti e colse un ramicel di un gran pruno, il tronco suo gridò, perché mischiante, de che fatto fu poi di sangue bruno, ricominciò a dir, perché mi scerpi, non hai tu spirito di piedade alcuno? Uomini fumo, e or siamo fatti sterpi, bien dovrebbe essere la tua man più pia, se state fossimo animi di serpi, come di un stisso verde che all'arso sia da l'un dei capi che dall'altro geme e cigola per il vento che va via. Si della scheggia rotta ucciva insieme parole e sangue, ond'io lasciai la cima cadere e stetti come l'uomo che te. Next.
Se li avessi potuto credere prima, risposo il savio mio, anima lesa, ciò che veduto por con la mia rima, non avrebbe in te la man stessa, ma la cosa incredibile mi fece, an indurlo ad ovra che me stesso pesa. Ma dilli chi ti fossi, sì che invece d'alcun amenda tua fama rinfreschi nel mondo su dove tornai il lecce e il tronco. Sì col dolce dir madeschi, che non posso tacere, e voi non gravi perch'io un poco in ragionar mi inveschi. Io son colui che tiene ambo le chiavi del cor di Federigo e che le volsi serrando e desserrando si soavi, che del secreto suo quasi ognuno tolsi, fede portai al glorioso officio, tanto chi ne perde il sogni e i polsi. La meretrice che mai dello sposio di Cesare non forse gli occhi puti, morte comune della corte visio, inflammio contra me il animi tutti, e l'infamati infamiar si a gusto, che lieti onor tomaro in tristi tutti. L'animo mio, per disdegnoso gusto, credendo col morir fuggir desdegno, ingiusto fece me contra me giusto. Per le nuove radici d'esto legno, vi giuro che già mai non rupi fede al mio Señor, che fu d'onor sì degno. Next.
Okay, I'll go. Esse di voi alcun nel mondo riede, conforti la memoria mia, che greace, ancor de copo che invidia le diede. Un poco a teste, a poi da che si tace, dice il poeta a me, non perder l'ora, ma parla, e chiedi a lui se più ti piace. Ondio a lui, domandi tu ancora di quel che credi che me satisfaccio, chi non potrei. Tanta pietam ancora, perch'io ricomincio, se l'om ti faccia liberamente, cio che il tuo dir priega, spirito incarcerato, ancor ti piace di dirne come anima si lega. In questa noce, in dinè, se tu puoi, s'alcuna mai di tal membra si spiega. Allora, soffio il tronco forte e poi si converte che il vento in cotal voce, brevemente, Sara, riposta a voi. Quando si parte l'anima feroce dal corpo, onde la stress si desvelta, Minos la manda alla settima foce. Desio?
Cade in la selva e non le parte scelta, ma là dove fortuna la balestra quivi germoglia con gran dispelta. Surge in vermena in pianta silvestre l'arpie, pescendo poi delle sue foglie, fanno dolore e al dolor fenestra. Come l'altre veren per nostre spoglie, ma non però che alcuna sen rivesta, che non è giusto aver ciò che un si toglie. Che le strascineremo e per la mestra selva saranno i nostri corpi appesi, ciascuno al prun dell'ombra sua molesta. Noi eravamo ancora al tronco attesi, credendo che all'altro ne volesse dire, quando noi fummo d'un rumor sorpresi, similmente a colui che venire sente il porco e la caccia e la sua posta, che lode le bestie e le frasche stormire. Ed ecco due della sinistra costa, nudi, graffiati, fuggendosi forti, che della selva rompieno ogni rosta. Quel dinanzi, o corri, morte, e l'altro, cui pareva tardar troppo, gridava, l'ano se non fura forte, le gambe tue e le giostre dal topo, e poi che forse li folia la lena, di sé di un sespilio fece un groppo. Di rietro a loro era la selva piena, e di nere cagne, brumose e correnti, come veltri che ucciser di catena. In quel che s'appiantò miser li denti, e quel di lascerò avrano, poi sen portar quelle membra dolenti. Presumì allor la mia scorta per mano e menomi al cespuglio che piangea per le rotture sanguinenti invano. O Jacopo, dicea da Santo Andrea, che ti giovato di me fare schermo, che colpe ho io della tua vita rea. Next.
Quando il maestro fu sovresso fermo, disse, chi fosti che per tante punte soffi, con sangue doloroso sermo? Ed egli a noi, oh anime che giunte siete a veder lo stazio disonesto, che la mia fronde si da me disgiunte, raccoglietele al pie del tristo cesto, fui della città che nel battista muto, primo padrone, onde per questo sempre con l'arte sua la farà trista. E se non fosse che in sul passo d'Arno rimane ancor di lui alcuna vista, quei cittadin che poi la rifandarlo sovral cener che da Tila rimase, avrebber fatto favorare indarno. Io fe gibbetto a me della mie case.
Mhm. All right, English now.
Did I read after Bill?
You read after me. I think it Lois read last, so it should be John and then Anne.
Okay.
So we start with English then, at the beginning?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Not yet had Nessus reached the other side, when we had put ourselves within a wood that was not marked by any path whatever. Not foliage green, but of a dusky color, not branches smooth, but gnarled and intertangled. Not apple trees were there, but thorns with poison. Such tangled thickets have not, nor so dense, those savage wild beasts that in hatred hold twixt Chichina and Corneto, the tilled places. There do the hideous harpies make their nests, who chase the Trojans from the Strophides with sad announcement of impending doom. Broad wings have they, and necks and faces human, and feet with claws, and their great bellies fledged. They make laments upon the wondrous trees. Next, please. I think Anne is left.
Oh, no, here I am. Okay, I thought
Oh,
somebody
No,
else.
I
No,
meant,
the other-
Anne
the
Doyle,
other
Anne
Anne.
Doyle had to leave.
It's
Oh,
the
okay.
it's the other Anne.
Okay,
Anne
thanks.
Meister.
So then it's me.
Oh, Bill's next.
Yeah. And the good master, ere thou enter farther, know that thou art within the second round. Thus he began to say, and shall be, till thou comest out upon the horrible sand. Therefore, look well around, and thou shalt see things that will credence give unto my speech. I heard on all sides lamentations uttered, and person none beheld I who might make them, whence, utterly bewildered, I stood still. I think he thought that I perhaps might think so many voices issued through those trunks from people who concealed themselves from us. Therefore the master said, if thou break off some little spray from any of these trees, the thoughts thou hast will wholly be made vain. Then stretched I forth my hand a little forward, and plucked a branchlet off from a great thorn. And the trunk cried, why dost thou mangle me? After it had become embrowned with blood, it recommenced its cry, why dost thou rend me? Hast thou no spirit of pity whatsoever? Next, Anne.
Yeah, okay. Men once we were, and now are changed to trees. Indeed, thy hand should be more pitiful, even if the souls of serpents we had been. As out of a green brand that is on fire at one of the ends, and from the other drips and hisses with the wind that is escaping. So from that splinter issued forth together both words and blood, whereat I let the tip fall, and stood like a man who is afraid. Had he been able to sooner to believe, my sage made to answer, oh, thou wounded soul, what only in my verses he had seen, not upon thee hath the stretched forth his hand, whereas the thing incredible has caused me to put him to an act which grieves me. Next.
But tell him who thou wast, so that by way of some amends thy fame he may refresh up in the world to which he can return. And the trunk said, so thy sweet words allure me, I can't silent be, and you be vexed not, that I a little to discourse am tempted. I'm the one who both the keys had in keeping of Frederick's heart, and turned them to and fro so softly in unlocking and in locking, that from his secrets most men I withheld. Fidelity I bore the glorious office so great, I lost thereby my sleep and pulses. The courtesan who never from the dwelling of Caesar turned aside her strumpet eyes, death universal, and the vice of courts, inflamed against me all the other minds, and they inflamed did so inflame Augustus, that my glad honors turned to dismal mournings. Next.
My spirit, in disdainful exultation, thinking by dying to escape disdain, made me unjust against myself. The just I, by the roots unwanted of this wood, do swear to you that never broke I faith unto my Lord, who was so worthy of honor. And to this world, if one of you return, let him my memory comfort, which is lying still prostrate from the blow that envy dealt it. Next.
He paused there, and the poet said to me, "While he is mute, let not this moment go, but speak, and ask what more seems good to thee." And I, "Ask thou whate'er thou thinkst will do my hunger good, and satisfy me well. I cannot ask. Pity unhearts me so. Wherefore, so may this man prove liberal." Thus he resumed, "Thine errand to perform, in prison spirit, do thou be pleased to tell how souls get cramped into this naughty form, and, if thou canst, if any shall do off these limbs one day, and find release therefrom." Lois?
You're muted, Lois.
No,
Sorry
Lois.
about that. The trunk blew hard, and quickly what began as wind became a voice. These points can be quite briefly answered. When the violent soul and leaves a corpse, Meno sends it to level 7. Protocol agrees that it not mitigate its loss by choosing where it falls into the wood. It falls where thrown by chance, and then a grain of grief it sprouts. Then, where a sapling stood, there's suddenly a savage tree whose pain, when harpies come to eat its leaves, must find a vocal outlet. Like the rest, one day we'll go to fetch the flesh we left behind, but it will never clothe us in the way it did. For justice would be undermined if one who robs himself should own once more the thing he stole. So we drag them here, those bodies, and the thing he was before, on each tree in this wood will hang, so near, yet far from its murderous soul. We were still listening in case the trunk was not through talking when we heard a sudden stir, as one who, waiting in his chosen spot, is still surprised to hear the boar hunt charge towards his post. The beasts crashing through our branches, we were stunned to see at large, there on our left, 2 naked runners, 2 scarred runners, and they fled so fast they snapped the tanglewood. "Come now," the first one cried. "Come quickly, death." The other, looking sapped of winning speed, yelled, "Leno, why no pride? You ran at Topo, but you still got killed." Next.
Those leg of thine adjusting of the topo, and then perchance because his breath was failing, he grouped himself together with a bush. Behind them was the forest full of black she-mastiffs, ravenous and swift of foot, greyhounds who are issuing from the chain. On him who had crouched down they set their teeth, and him they lacerated, piece by piece, thereafter bore away those aching members. Fred, my escort, took me by the hand and led me to the bush that all in vain was weeping from its bloody lacerations. "O Jacopo," it said, "of Saint Andrea, what helped thee of me to make a scream? What blame have in thy nefarious life? When near him had the master stayed his steps, he said, Who hast thou that through wounds so many are blowing out with blood this dolorous speech? Next, to finish.
Who's next?
I finish.
Maybe, is it you, Dave?
Mr. Red.
Oh, that's no.
Oh, no. I don't know.
Hold on, hold on. How did you get in? Oh, I guess.
139.
Oh, okay. Who read just before Decio?
Lois.
Lois. Okay, so John, you would read again.
Okay. And he to us, O souls that hither come to look upon the shameful massacre that has so rent away from me my leaves. Gather them up beneath the dismal bush, I of that city, which to the Baptist changed its first patron, wherefore he for this, forever with his art will make it sad. And were it not on the pass of Arno, some glimpses of him are remaining still, those citizens who afterward rebuilt it upon the ashes left by Attila, in vain had caused their labor to be done. Of my own house I made myself a gibbet.
Very good. Okay. So this will be an interesting one to read next week and to discuss. So Lois, I hope you'll come join us again. I hope you've enjoyed your time with us today.
I did. I like the group and I like the way you're dealing with the text. I'm enjoying it.
Right.
Excellent. Yeah, yeah, it seems to work fairly well. So, anything before we wrap up today? I guess that means that it's time to say thank you all very much. And we'll meet again here by the river next Wednesday. Bill, you got something? You got your on your
Gather.
Wear your boots.
Yeah,
Gather.
unmute yourself, Bill.
If you want us to hear us, you need to unmute.
I'm sorry. I was just being Carol Burnett for a minute. I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh and sing a song. And then it's time, before you know it, comes the time for us to say
So, thank you, Duncan. Thank you, Dave, for inviting me.
Hello.
Okay.